Good evening and welcome to Qnews special coverage as a major detainee exchange unfolds between Hamas and Israel, with 200 Palestinian prisoners released and 4 Israeli soldiers handed over. Egypt plays a key role in mediating the agreement. Stay tuned for these stories and more. "70 Palestinian detainees, most serving life sentences or long terms, will be transferred from Gaza through the Egypt-Gaza border. This has been confirmed by a correspondent from our sister news channel, Al Qahira News, stationed on the Egyptian side of Rafah. The detainees' transfer follows their release under a detainee exchange agreement. Earlier, the Palestinian Prisoners Affairs Committee announced that Israel plans to release 200 Palestinian prisoners, with 70 of them set to be deported outside of Gaza and the West Bank as part of the deal. Buses carrying released Palestinian detainees have arrived in West Bank's Ramallah after being freed in exchange for 4 female Israeli soldier detainees. Crowds of Palestinians, including family members of the freed prisoners, gathered to cheer them as they disembarked the buses that carried them from the Israeli Offa military prison. Israel's prison service said all 200 prisoners have been released. Palestinian officials said around 70 will be deported to Egypt, another 16 sent to Gaza, and the remaining prisoners will be released to the West Bank. An Egyptian source has revealed that Egyptian and Qatari mediators have been informed that the detainee Abel Yahud is alive and will be released on February the 1st. This announcement follows Egypt's successful efforts in facilitating a detainee exchange as part of the ongoing ceasefire agreement. Hamas has handed over 4 Israeli soldiers to the International Red Cross in Gaza as part of the second phase of a detainee exchange deal with Israel. The exchange took place publicly, witnessed by hundreds of Palestinian civilians. The soldiers, identified as Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilboa, Nama Levy and Lira Albag, were seen in military uniforms and appeared to be in good health. A formal agreement was signed between Hamas and the Red Cross during the event. So the International Red Cross has received 4 Israeli detainees in central Gaza as part of the second phase of the detainee exchange deal under the ceasefire agreement. Hamas handed over the detainees early this morning, with the Red Cross team facilitating their transfer through the Kerem Abu Salem crossing. Under the agreement, a phased Israeli withdrawal begins today, allowing displaced residents to return home, freedom of movement within Gaza, and the delivery of humanitarian aid. Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari has reiterated Israel's commitment to recovering all detainees held in Gaza. Speaking at a press conference, Hagari accused Hamas of violating the detainee exchange agreement. He confirmed that military operations would continue across all fronts to ensure Israel's security. Hagari also reported that 841 Israeli soldiers have died in the Gaza war, with many others injured. He highlighted the ongoing deployment of Israeli forces in Gaza as part of efforts to achieve their objectives. Russia has criticized the head of the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, for failing to provide a substantial reason for declining to brief the Security Council on the situation of children in Gaza. During a meeting called by Russia, UN Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia accused the United States of bearing partial responsibility for the deaths of children in Gaza, citing its use of veto power in the Security Council to protect Israel during the war. Nebenzia also claimed that the US ignored Russia's earlier calls for a meeting on Gaza's children in December.
Отказ главы ЮНИСЕФ пробрифинговать Совет Безопасности по поводу чудовищной трагедии, связанной с гибелью десятков тысяч детей в Газе, вопиющий шаг, который заслуживает самого серьезного порицания. Хочу напомнить, что госпожа Рассел буквально по щелчку пальцев американского председательства Совета Безопасности примчалась выступать на безобразном политизированном брифинге по детским аспектам ситуации на Украине 4 декабря прошлого года.
The Israeli military has issued warnings to Gaza residents ahead of the second phase of the detainee exchange and the truce agreement. Army spokesperson for Arab media, Avichai Adrei, stressed that restrictions remain in place, including movement toward northern Gaza, the Netzarim corridor and the Palestinian side of Rafah, due to ongoing military operations. He also warned of risks near military positions and coastal areas, advising residents to avoid fishing, swimming, or approaching the buffer zone. Now, for further analysis of the situation in Gaza as the detainee exchange deal enters its second phase, we're joined from Ramallah by spokesperson of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, Fatah, Ahmed Fatouh. Good evening and welcome to Qnews. So what are the key terms of the detainee exchange agreement between Hamas and Israel, and how were these terms negotiated?
Thank you for having me. First, I would like to express our joy and happiness that our prisoners, our heroes, has been released from the Israeli dungeons and jails after years of torture and imprisoning unlawfully, some of them without even a court. Today, 200 prisoners has been released. 70 of them has been sent to exile, unfortunately. We are against exiling any Palestinian people, and this is a natural right for the Palestinians to return back to their homeland. But this was what appears to be part of Hamas and Israel negotiations. Unfortunately, much of this negotiation has been a secret and has been not known for the Palestinian leadership or the Palestinian national factions and political parties. Hamas made this deal directly with Israel through, of course, the mediators who played a major influence to stop the genocide in Gaza and to make the ceasefire. But there are many terms that we are just discovering right now from Hamas and Israel, such as the one that speaks about American troops to come to Gaza. This is of imminent danger to bring external powers to our lands. This is another form of occupation. We refuse that concept. We have our own government. We have our own security. We need to discuss how to go into two-state solution, not to add more issues and problems to the entire situation. Of course, ceasefire was a great step to begin with, but Hamas has failed to incorporate in the entire Palestinian national leadership or the parties and their partners, which made the deal not as we want exactly in terms of national issues, our key issues, which is the right of return, the two-state solution, the Jerusalem. This is our major firm national demands from Israel. There are many terms that has been ambiguous. We are not aware of this negotiations details. It has been done majorly between Hamas and Israel. It's unfortunate that the PLO and the Palestinian partners were not involved in this negotiation.
And what might these prisoner exchanges, these detainee exchanges, do for perceptions around the world by the international community, particularly the public handover of these 4 female Israeli soldiers by Hamas?
Well, the prisoners' cause has been returned to the international arena to remind everyone that the Palestinian people is imprisoned by this occupation. We now have more than around 10,000 prisoners in Israeli jails from the West Bank, and there is unknown number from Gaza. We estimate it's going to be 7,000, so we are talking in total 17,000. That rised from 10,000 before October 7. So this is a dangerous issue in Palestine and something that is troubling us deeply in our day-to-day life. Our Palestinian prisoners deserve freedom. Political prisoners deserve to express their views and to criticize the occupation freely without being threatened of this brutal injustice and imprisonment. What it has affected in the world, I think Hamas wanted to send a message that they still have power in Gaza, and that ceremony of submitting the Israeli prisoners was a message to Israel that they still have some influence on the ground. Israel delay of or their sabotage stopping the transportation between South Gaza to the north through Netzarim because of Erbil Yehuda prisoner, I think it is a way for Israel to say that they still have the upper hand and they can stop this deal at any time if it does not suit them as they like. In our national struggle, it is important for Hamas to understand that this is not a party manner, this is a national manner. Everybody must be involved. We have to all accumulate our struggle for this country. We have to consolidate our efforts for our country. Now the world looks at Hamas as a terrorist group. That's what they define him. And they refuse that Hamas continue to lead Gaza. Now, for the benefit of our people, Hamas need to think deeply about returning the Palestinian Authority and the PLO to Gaza in order to save our people from any further assault or aggression of Israel, to remove this pretext from Israeli table and continue in our national unity that should achieve the geographical and political unity between Gaza and the West Bank. Of course, Hamas is a political party in Palestine. We refuse any kind of recognition of Hamas as a terrorist group. But right now, this is not a government, not the time for political parties to rule. Now, for an independent government that is accepted internationally, and let's rebuild Gaza and continue forward into stopping all the schemes to expel our people from Gaza or the West Bank. Later on, after a year or 2 or 3, we could go for elections, and whoever wins, wins.
Now, of course, these massive political moments are happening every few days. A massive change in circumstances since the ceasefire agreement was put into place, the first phase at least. What is the effect on and what is the action of the displaced residents who are in Gaza?
Well, right now we have 1.8 million displaced human beings are homeless, without a home. This is a catastrophe, and the international community still did not put its strength or pressure, strong pressure against Israel to stop it from any further aggression. Right now, we are hearing the Israeli far-right government and Smotrich threatening that they will re-invade Gaza after stage one, after they take their prisoners, which means they want to make this deal as to take out their hostages, then return back to their expulsion campaign against the Palestinian people. It is very dangerous, and we are in imminent danger. Right now, this is not a political political way of thinking, a political party of thinking. We have to think as a whole, as a country, as entire parties should stand together in one Palestinian agenda, not a political party agenda. What we have in Gaza, the rebuild, the reconstruction plan is said will not be implemented as long as Hamas in power. Hamas should think deeply. The PLO, the Palestinian Authority, is the legitimate government of the Palestinian people. They have the international legitimacy and the international relations to bring safety to our people. It's time to sail our people into safety, rebuild ourselves, reorganize ourselves, and reconstruct our land. Then together, we could think in one strategy, in one political and national strategy to move forward on how could we end this occupation and establish our state.
And let's talk a little bit about the humanitarian situation on the ground. Are things improving with trucks getting through Rafah? Is the aid getting to where it needs to go to?
Well, there's some aid that is reaching the people. The situation, the material situation, is still dangerous. A lot of people are suffering, are in need of more care, are in need of medical care. There is many missing components in Gaza that need to be rebuilt and reinstalled. The health system is at its worst now without the equipment, the medicines it needs. Still, right now, some entered, but still needs more and much more to revive and to be able to serve the people. The aid is said to have reached some parts of Gaza, but many parts still haven't received any aid, such as in the north or in many parts in Gaza and in Khan Yunis. We have to organize this. The Hamas need to step up and to organize the food and aid distribution into people and to make sure that it's not crippled or it's distributed unfairly.
And what are the broader political and security implications of this exchange for the ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel?
I don't understand. Sorry, could you repeat?
What are the broader political implications? Are we reaching? Are things improving? Are things getting better? Is it still a very fragile ceasefire agreement?
It's really fragile. When Trump, the president of the United States, says, I'm not sure that Israel is going to stop attacking Hamas or not re-evoke the war in the stage two, that means there's something fishy on the ground. Israel has stated in many occasions that they will not stop the war unless they receive a full submission from Hamas. And they have shifted the war into the West Bank now in their extermination campaign and expanding their colonization into the entire Palestinian grounds. Israel is trying to use this war to achieve their colonial ambitions that they always have dreamt of since 1948. The American administration did play a good role in stopping the war in Gaza and achieving ceasefire, but we are not very confident that they will continue their role in maintaining that ceasefire and developing that ceasefire into a peaceful and a comprehensive political solution that would end with a two-state solution. As long as this occupation exists, there's going to always be havoc, chaos, and violence. We really need to have some guarantees from the international world that the Israeli occupation is unaccepted and the genocide has to stop immediately, forever, and never be repeated. And the Palestinian people need an international protection. We must prevent such atrocities to take place again in the future.
And what does the inclusion of life sentenced Palestinian detainees signify? Is it significant?
Of course, it's significant. Those people sacrificed most of their lives for this cause. They have spent their most years in jails and struggling for Palestine. Their release today is a joy. We are proud of them. They are a pride of Palestine. It's unfortunate they will be sent to exile. We hope that they will be able to return. We haven't heard any information from Hamas if there's some sort of understanding with Israel that they could return in the future. We look forward that Hamas could explain this part from their side and to make more pressure on Israel to do that. Hamas, unfortunately, has isolated Gaza from the rest of the Palestinian cities or the entire Palestinian state. When they negotiated for only prisoner swap and issues in Gaza, that weakened their proposition in this negotiation. If they have involved the PLO, who are experienced in their negotiation with Israel and is well aware of Israeli methods, and they have the cards in their hands to pressure Israel more. When we attach this war to the cause of Jerusalem, to the cause of right of return, and to the cause of the Palestinian state of 1967 borders, that would give us more power and a stronger voice to speak in the international arena against Israel. But unfortunately, Hamas decided to make it a political party negotiation, not a national unity negotiation.
And it seems that we've moved from one military operation to another. As far as you know, what's the latest situation on the ground in Jenin?
The occupation is still in his full aggression against people, in his cruel and brutal crimes against our civilians. Yesterday, they killed 2 Palestinian in Mithalon, a village in Jenin, by an air missile strike. And this is a major violation and development in their hostility in the West Bank. They are burning houses. They are destroying streets. They are shooting at civilians. They are shooting at people, at civil people in their cars while they are driving. This is absolute madness. Israel is influenced by this ultra-right government, this religious Zionist ideology that sees the Palestinians as less a human being than other people around the world and a less a human being than the Jewish people. Now is a major escalation taking place in the West Bank. Israel ambitions, I believe, is to push the Palestinian away from their villages, from their outskirt residents, in order to annex Area C in the West Bank. Area C is around 60% of the West Bank. It is the area where is under control and administration of Israel, but left by Palestinians. So what they are trying to do is to annex the settlements and acquire more land surrounding the settlements. This is a major threat, a major violation. This is a straight dagger in the heart of the two-state solution, and it is unlawful and is not gonna drive us anywhere. This will not stop the fact that this is an occupation and this is a Palestinian territory, and when there is a solution, they have to withdraw.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Qnews. That was Ahmed Fatouh, the spokesperson of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, Fatah. Thank you very much for being here with us on the program. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid have passed through Gaza's Rafah. More than 4,200 aid trucks entered the Gaza Strip in the 6 days since a ceasefire began between Israel and Hamas on January 19th. The truce deal requires at least 600 truckloads of aid to enter Gaza each day of the initial 6-week ceasefire, including 50 carrying fuel. Half of those trucks are supposed to go to Gaza's north, where experts have warned famine is imminent. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that Palestinians will not be allowed to return to northern Gaza until the release of civilian detainee Arbel Yehud is finalized. Netanyahu stated that her release is expected as part of the detainee exchange agreement His office emphasized that resolving Yehud's case remains a precondition for Palestinian resettlement in northern Gaza, reaffirming Israel's firm stance during the ongoing exchange process.
I look forward to working with you to return the remaining hostages, to destroy Hamas's military capabilities.
And that brings us to the end of our special coverage on Gaza. Remember, you can stay following Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EGY. Thanks for watching. Good night.